Fisher River Cree Nation, Land Code 2020. What you need to know.
Ibe ten mana atsimuna kinasu CP gagi atsigin no ewete mesjed nanwan ewe animak mesai micham ewe tentamok adit sawen okise tape spitsitig tamiskahik nan tawita kamia sigaski ewe spi gagi meskahik uchegi CP gasnigatig ewe taga ewe tentakik stigetik Inagabista pagita hatsig, tamachitsig, ta wanigetsig. Ego tamaga gagi, wanastanwak, agia. Ego ugi mao, kagi wanastaga hinogegon. Agi masnagatig, Treaty 5 guys negatig. Ego David Rundle, ugi makan, winagagi masinako winuin. Ta pagit negatig anmaski, uchig CP guy.
Wachier. Fisher River has signed an agreement with Canada called the Framework Agreement on First Nation Land Management. This agreement will result in the recognition of our inherent right to govern our own reserved lands and natural resources. The agreement was originally signed by the Government of Canada and 13 First Nations in 1996. By signing the agreement, we agree to develop our own lands, land code, or land laws. Once approved by the membership through a community vote, the federal government will no longer be involved in the management of the Fisher River Cree Nation reserved lands. The Council, along with membership, will work together when making land and resource management decisions. Once the agreement was signed by Fisher River in June 2014, we began work on two documents required as a signatory to the Framework Agreement, the Land Code and the Individual Agreement.
The land codes are land laws specific to Fisher River Cree Nation and will replace the 34 land management provisions of the Indian Act. The land code and its contents will be drafted by Fisher River Cree Nation and its membership and will make provisions for the following matters: identifying the reserve lands to be managed, develop general rules and procedures for the use and occupation of these lands by members and others, the making and publishing of Fisher River Cree Nation land laws. The land code provides increased protection for reserve land and resources.
The second document is called the Individual Agreement. This agreement between Fisher River Cree Nation and Canada will be negotiated to deal with such matters as the reserve lands to be managed by Fisher River, the specifics of the transfer of administration of land from Canada to Fisher River, the transfer of revenues, an interim environmental assessment process, and the funding to be provided by Canada to the community for land management. Once these two documents are completed, membership on and off reserve must decide to approve them through a community vote. The land code and the individual agreement are in their final form. Nothing will be finalized without membership approval.
To ensure the membership is fully aware of the process of approving the land code and the individual agreement, a community ratification process document has been developed. A community ratification process document sets out the procedure by which the community will decide whether to approve its land code and the individual agreement, specifically how the community vote will be set up, voting procedures, and how the vote will be monitored and verified.
Fisher River Cree Nation lands and resources have been managed by the federal government under the Indian Act since the community signed our treaty. The community has since had very little to no decision-making powers over lands and resources. Throughout history, the Indian Act has been highly invasive. The Act has enabled the government to determine our land base and to have total control and management of our lands and resources. By approving our land code and individual agreement, the community will take back control. This may be the single most historic accomplishment, not only for Fisher River, but for all First Nations this century, to have us recognized as governments with our own lawmaking powers and control over our own lands. A national study on the Framework Agreement benefits to First Nations operating under their own land code showed that land management activities are completed much faster, values and vision are strengthened, relationships with financial institutions are greatly improved, the ability to borrow for capital investments are strengthened, the level of interest and participation of membership is increased, internal investments and external investments are increased, jobs and opportunities are being created. The study also noted that of the communities who are operating under their own land code, not one would ever go back to land management under the Indian Act. Today, there are 79 First Nations in Canada operating under their own land code, with an additional 61 communities in the process of going to vote. 7 First Nations in Manitoba have approved their own land code. They include Broken Head, Long Plain, OCN, and Swan Lake First Nations, just to name a few.
The Indian Act provisions on lands and resource management does not meet the needs of Fisher River Cree Nation. Historically, the Indian Act has caused lengthy delays when it comes to infrastructure and business development, as well as land management activities. Having a land code will allow the community to accomplish these tasks in a more efficient and timely manner. Fisher River Cree Nation shall continue its treaty relationship with the government. A land code is not a treaty and does not affect treaty or Aboriginal rights. A no vote means that Fisher River Cree Nation lands will continue to be managed by the Department of Indian Affairs under the Indian Act.
The community will take control over land and resource management and ensure protection for future generations. We can prepare and administrate our own land designations for business, commercial, residential, recreational, and heritage sites.
We can place ourselves in a much better position to attract businesses, investments, and partnerships that could lead to revenue and job opportunities for the community. We will be able to identify, document, protect, and manage our custom lot holdings by creating and maintaining our own lands registry system.
Fisher River Cree Nation signed the Framework Agreement with the Government of Canada in June 2014. Council and membership began to work on finalizing the land code and individual agreement. Membership helped review and draft the land code. Several meetings were held on and off reserve between August 2014 and March 2018. The historical signing allowed the community to opt out of 34 sections of the Indian Act that relate to lands and resources and began an exciting new era of development and opportunity for the community.
There are 3 ways in which you can vote: in person, online, or by mail-in. Advanced polling will be conducted Monday, September 28, 2020, and Tuesday, September 29, 2020, from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Fisher River Cree Nation Community Hall. Official voting day is Wednesday, September 30th, 2020, from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Fisher River Cree Nation Community Hall. Please note we will maintain the COVID-19 Manitoba public health orders and protocols to protect the well-being of our members. Social distancing will be observed and hand sanitizers will be available. Online voting will take place from September 1st to 30th, 2020 at the One Feather website, onefeather.ca/nations/Fisher River. Polls will be open until the close of voting day, Wednesday, September 30th, 2020 at 8 p.m. And to vote by mail-in ballot, contact Shirley N. Cochran, the Ratification Officer, for a mail-in voting package. Please note, in order for your mail-in ballot to be valid, it must be received by the Ratification Officer by the close of the polls on the official voting day, which is 8 p.m. on Wednesday, September 30th, 2020.
Vote yes for continued growth and development.
Vote yes for securing lands and resources for future generations.
Vote yes for positive change.
Vote yes for making history.
For more information, contact Shirley Ann Cochran, Land Code Coordinator, or visit fisherriver.ca.